Hey, what is up, guys? So, we're back to the drawing board of doing a few more deck profiles for the next foreseeable few videos, and I thought I'd go through a little bit of a revamped version of Marincess. Now that I've seen that it's done quite well at a few YCSs, it's piqued my attention to go back into it. Before you just skip to all the cards that are in the list, there are some that are actually missing from here because I've had to loan them out to one or two friends. So I'll go through those as and when. The deck actually does perform quite well. What I'd state for it is that I've been playing it incorrectly. Categorically, I've been playing it incorrectly. Like I keep making Bubble Reef passing because the version that I built previously played an unholy amount of hand traps, and that's worked for that build. However, now looking back on it for this sort of format, that's incorrect. Like, you want to go Argonaut first turn because the version that I've built now makes Bahamut in your first turn if you open the correct sort of stuff. But I'll go through the theory first, and then I'll go through how the deck's actually piloted now. So with the main deck, all the Marincess stuff is kind of the same with all of them. So we are playing one of the level 1 Marincess. The reason why we play this is because it's better than the level 5. So the Sleepy Maiden is good because it allows you to equip stuff to Argonaut, but if you play this version correctly, Battle Ocean doesn't matter as much after turn 2, besides just being increasing in stats. And Sleepy Maiden's bad because it's a level 5, and all your one-card starters require level 4s and lower, so this is why this is better. This also has the effect of, if you have 2 Marincesses, you can revive it from the grave, or special it from hand, but it gets banished when it leaves the field, so it's a good thing to send off the level 4 Blue Tang, because it's just a free revival later on, but this is why we play this over the Sleepy Maiden. Then the standard stuff, we played 3 Seahorse. This is just an extender that just summons itself for free. The 3 Blue Tang, because it is Foolish Burial plus Foxy, effectively, so you if you open this in your opening hand, you're having a very good day, because it just gives you access to all the stuff that you need, and it's just amazing like that. And then we play the 3 Spring Girl. This is one of the other extenders. You banish a Marincess to summon it, and also you can chain block with your Marincesses, so you go the Blink 1 effect, Chain Link 1, this is Chain Link 2, so then it blocks it. The same thing happens with Blue Tang, so this is why these are actually very good. They guarantee your Sea Angel goes off. Now, dependent on what you draw, you can go Sleepy Sea Angel or Blue Slug, but I tend to go into Sea Angel first because I want to guarantee the spell. If you already have the spell in hand, then you go for the one that adds from graves, so then you get free stuff from this, because you'll send the Seahorse, or you'll send this, or you'll send this, and then just pop off from there. And then finally, for the last level 4 Marincess cards, we play the 2 Pascalis. I played this at 3 for a little bit. It kind of comes up, it kind of doesn't, just the 3rd. Its other effect of adding Marincess cards back from the grave, I tend to forget it. I'll just categorically admit that I tend to forget it. I end up adding it back, and then I can't use it to add the spell from grave. But just remember that this gives you free access into your trap. So if you already used your trap, you at the start of the turn just banish this to add the trap back, and then you're guaranteed that your opponent can't really do anything. And then for the tech that I play from my free extenders, it's 3 Silent Sea Nettle. I was back and forwards on this because I saw it in a few people's builds, and I genuinely thought at the start this card is garbage. Until I realised that you open this and a level 4 Marincess, and you can make a free Bahamut. Fair enough, the free Bahamut Toad sometimes gets you on summon 6, but it's a case of they have to out it, and if they out it preemptively, then you still have all your Marincess cards, and you've just played through the Nibiru. Your opponent can't imperm you anymore because they filled up their thing. But if you open this and another level 4, then it's just a free Bahamut Toad, and then you can go into all your plays, and then the good thing is you'll make the Link 4, and the Link 4 prevents your opponent from being able to attack the Toad, so then you just have a free protection. Also, its second effect does come up sometimes, so you can banish it from the grave to target 3 waters, and then shuffle them back into your deck. Now, you mainly do this with your extra deck stuff, because you go through your Link 1s very quickly, and getting free ways back into it is actually pretty decent. It also allows you to play less stuff in your extra, so that you actually have access for other cards. Then for the Marincess spells, we play 2 Dive and 1 Battle Ocean. This is kind of standard. You don't want to play more than this because it's a once per turn. So it kind of is a brick card. The one Battle Ocean as well, because you use this mainly for the Argonaut and to chain block with the Link ones, so that your opponent can't do anything. I don't tend to use its effect for its protection because I don't play the Crystal Heart. I think Crystal Heart's kind of bad. I would rather play other things over it, so it doesn't come up in my version, but in others it's actually quite amazing. And then one Marincess Dive. Some people have been playing this at 3. I prefer it at 1 because we play other cards to basically deal with problematic stuff. Its protection is absolutely amazing, but it's just a case of it only matters when you've got the Link 3 up. If you can't get to the Link 3, then this isn't as good in your opening hand. Fair enough, your opponent does tend to try and negate the Link 3 that searches this, but if you've gone the route that makes the Bahamut, you guarantee into this anyway, so you don't need to play more. You can play at 3. I prefer to play at 1 because it just provides the consistency for the build that I built. Then for the free searching cards, we play the 3 Signet Mining. Everything's a cyber, so it just works like that. Then we play the 2 Pot of Desires for free drawing. I know this is kind of bad with cash because they get more stuff out of it, but I value the drawing a lot more. 2 Talents. Unfortunately, this is one of the cards that it's supposed to be in here, but it's the case of my friends borrowing them at the moment. We play the 2 Talents mainly for the purpose of it gives us free stuff. Basically, you open talents and your opponent hand traps you. You can still extend through the hand trap and then just rip another card out of your hand. So then they're playing with less cards while you control the Bahamut Toad. So it's kind of fine like that. And then we play the 1 called By the Grave because it was either that or the 3rd Skeleton. I'd rather just play this. 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 3 Backward Removal, and then 3 Book of Eclipse. Now, this isn't just for Cash Tira. Like, I've tested this on numerous occasions and it's come up quite well. So I've tested this not just against Cash, but I've tested it against Sprite and other things, and this is actually pretty good because the amount of times that my opponent's made a Sprite board and they've just activated Eclipse, and they have to do Carrot Negate, and then there's just one less spell that I have to deal with. Well, one less negate that I have to deal with. Just the spell's just outed. There is quite a bit of Sword Soul at my locals as well, so this does tend to come up. This is just an overall good card. Some builds did play Rivalry over this as like your board breaker, but I just like this as my board breaker because the interesting thing is that you can Book of Eclipse your opponent's field and then Waterlock yourself with Coral, and then Zelican gets rid of everything, so then they just get nothing. So I don't tend to need to play anything else other than that. For the hand trap lineup, we play the Triple Imperm, Triple Ash, and the Triple Nib. These are the only real hand traps that I actually play. I was going to play Droll in it, but the issue with Droll is it doesn't work against every deck, while Ash is guaranteed to work against everything. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. It just does what it needs to do. Nibiru's the same. Your opponent has to play into Nib, and if you draw it, you just nuke their board, and then you make Kraken pop the token, and then you can just like beat over your opponent with a Nib and a Kraken and just win like a lot of games from that. Then for the extra deck, for the Link ones, we played 2 Sea Angel, 2 Blue Slug. This is the one that adds from Grave. This one's the searches for the spell. You have to play a bit more tactfully with it because if you make this, your Seahorse is dead. But if you make this, there's stuff that you can't always chain block as the follow-up with this. So it just depends what you have in hand and what your opponent is kind of playing. If you know that your opponent doesn't play that many hand traps, or your opponent's kind of bad against Marincess, then you can make this first and then not have to chain block with this, but it all just varies off what's in your hand. 2 Coral Anemone, this card is amazing. It's just free reborn every single turn, and it just gives me resources back from the grave, so it's just overall good like that. And there's 1 Coral Triangle. This is a card that I haven't made as much because hard RNG skill, I just draw the traps, so I don't need to search off this, and you get to a point, I think, when you can keep on recycling your board because of Toad, Silent Sea Nettle, and Dive, that its revival effect doesn't come up as often. It's still very, very useful, don't get me wrong, and searching for the trap is actually just amazing, but I don't tend to make this as much because just I'm bad at the deck and I always end up with like a Marincess plus a non-Marincess, so we can't make this because unlike the other things, this actually requires Marincess as well, this requires water, so yeah. Then we play the 1 Marble Rock. I've rarely made this. I only tend to make this if I have the trap already in the grave, and then it's just a free recursion of adding it back. Battle protection is pretty good. There is occasions where you can make the Aqua Argonaut or and have this equipped to it, so then when your opponent activates a spell, you just have free protection. Also, it's good having this up with Toad because then it just makes your Toad unkillable. That's really it. Then the one Aqua Argonaut, I never read this first effect on here. I never actually read the first effect on here. I always thought that this was just negate until I read the fact of your opponent has to kill this. They can't attack anything else. When I read that, I put Bahamut Toad straight back in the deck because we make this with like 4 equips and it gains an extra 2k. Toad is an extra negate. You have the wave in hand, so you have 2 negates already. If you open Imperma or any other hand traps, you have more stuff. And if you already have if you make this like late game, for like the second time, you make it with a marble rock underneath it, and then your opponent just can't out anything in your field. One bubble reef. If you open all the hand traps, you just summon this. That's pretty much it. We used to play this more when we didn't play Book of Eclipse and we played like imperms and things in the deck. But I mean, not imperms. Effect failures and other things in the deck. But because this is just not as required anymore, I don't tend to make it because the only reason this was good was just the freak draw power, but beyond that, it doesn't do as much. Like, if Book of Eclipse it doesn't exist in the format, then I probably will make this over the Argonaut because the free drawing is good, but there's just not enough hand traps in the deck for it to actually be amazing. Then we play the one Splash Mage because this allows you to go 1 card link 4. Fair enough, you can't make the Zealokin off it, but it just allows me to shuffle everything. Well, once I've shuffled everything back, I can just go straight into a Bubble Reef or an Aqua Argonaut again, because we make this first, and then we revive anything. Make Coral revives this, and this is just free level rank 4. And then we play the one Zealokin because this is Rugeki on steroids. So the idea behind it is you make this revives anything, and then this waterlocks you. And then Zealokin's effect is it banishes everything and then summons back all of them in face-up attack or face-down defense. But because this is waterlocked, your opponent doesn't get anything back. So you just nuked their board for nothing. And your opponent just cries. That's really it. It's also great because it requires only 1 effect monster to make. So the amount of times where I've made like the Aqua Argonaut going turn 1 and then on my second turn, I just make Coral Anemone and then waterlock myself and then link off the Argonaut into this. This is just way too good not to play, especially if your deck can lock you into certain things. Then we play the one Kragan. We play this over Dweller. I actually side the Dweller because this is actually just better. So this is just free spot removal, and sometimes it's a case of you just need the spot removal more, and damage is just good. Damage is just good. And unfortunately, there isn't as many decks that revolve around the grave, so Dweller isn't as good this format. It's good for a side card, but it's not good for me. This is just a lot better. And then the Bahamut Toad. This is just, if you open up the right things, you just make this. You can actually make Bahamut multiple times along with Toad. For the sole purpose of CNettle keeps on shuffling these back in, and then you make your level 4s to summon them again. And that's it for the main. For the very, very shoddy side, because I'm still theorizing with it. I've taken out a lot of stuff out of it, but this is like what I've been playing for locals in testing, and it works kind of in theory. I haven't taken it to tournaments yet because I don't know what to do with it, but this is just the idea that I've got for now. So we side the one Dweller because it comes up in certain matches. Other matches, it's dead, and Kragan comes up more often than not. The double evenly matched, there is a theory behind it where you actually play double evenly and double lightning storm. So the idea behind it is that each one of them is only going to really work once in the game, and it doesn't matter which one is actually resolving as long as you just kind of just napalm strikes your opponent's field from there. Then we play the 3 goes and match. This sometimes comes up, sometimes doesn't. It's because of Kragan that this card's actually good, because if you can waterlock your opponent while having Kragan on the field, some decks just can't play around it, they're just used to it. And because you're playing Marincess, your opponent tends to not keep in all the back row removal, so then this is just perfectly protected and there's no your opponent can do about it. And then for the rest of the monsters, we play 2 Gamazeel, 3 of the Water Ghost Girl, and 2 Droll. The reason why we play it this way around is because Gamazeel is just you don't need multiples of it. You just kind of just need one, and you get broken through the cash tier stuff. This is just for time, literally just for time. It's amazing how it is. I misread Coral once. I thought that Coral could add this back because I thought Coral added water monsters back, but I was wrong. I was so wrong that day. But in my defense, Toad can add this back instead. And then the double draw is for the matches where Ash isn't needed as much, so it shuts down your opponent. So I tend to like side in double draw, double evenly, and double lightning storm because it just plays around most of my opponent's stuff. So as for like piloting Marincess, there's just like an obligatory combo that you kind of do. I'm not. So the obligatory combo like usually requires any Marincess, but for like argument's sake, you have the blue tang, and this is just the best of all the Marincesses. So you go blue tang. Blue tang then ditches ditches this, and then you link the blue tang. To make the Sea Angel, and then Angel Chain Link 1, Tang Chain Link 2, so you guarantee access into your spell. The Tang, guarantee freeway into your spell. You guarantee the freeway into this or this, depending on what you draw. Most of the time, I actually go for this because if you don't have the extenders, you need this. So then you activate the dive, summon back this, link these two off, and make Coral. Now, the reason why we make Coral first instead of the Splash Mage is because if you get impermed here, you can't do anything, while if you get impermed or negated on this, it's fine, because you still have other Marincesses or ways to access stuff, and this still brings stuff back from the grave. But if they don't imperm it, then you can just bring back the Spring Girl again, link the Spring Girl into Blue Slug. Blue Slug adds this back, link these two into Triangle. Triangle ditches any other water from hand, and then you banish one of the other things to then link this off into a Bubble Reef or an Argonaut. If you can't have access to your field spell, don't make this. You just make this. And that's really like the one card way into it. Loads of different stuff can lead in. And that's kind of like the one card way into the big Marincess stuff. Obviously, if you have the field spell or you draw anything else, it's a lot better. But if you don't have, but if your hand is actually like the absolute shit, and you open up this plus this, it's just really good because you can go normal this, effective Foolish Burial, special this, turn this into the Link 1. Link 1 will add back this that you Foolish Burialed, special this, overlay these, make Bahamut. Your opponent now has to nib you. If they don't nib you, you just detach and make the free Toad, and then you link the Bahamut and this off to make the Coral Nemini, and then you have full combo plus Toad. And that's really it for like Marincesses. It's not like what I'd class as the world's hardest deck to play. You don't tend to get punished as much for making misplays because the thing is, it's water at Ignister, so like all the cards go into one another, and you just guaranteed free accesses into like Bahamut, Toad, Coral, Argonaut, this, or this. Like these are all like the main push power cards that go into one thing or another, and they just make the play so much better. This, I think, is actually the card that does most work though. Obviously, your opponents don't tend to play against Marincess because it's just one of those rogue decks, and when they see this, they beat it and just kind of cry in the corner. But that's really it for Marincess. If you guys have any suggestions besides stating that that I should get cards instead of using like sleeves, all ears, so please do suggest how I can like improve on Marincess, because I might actually take this to a regionals, depending on how the format like progresses and if I will get punished or not for playing Marincess. Anyways, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always, and I'll be signing out. Peace.